Waste. Avete visto, avete saputo dalla locandina che c'era questa opportunità fugace ma utile di incontrare Jack Macy, che ringrazio per essere qui. I thank you, Jack, to stay here, and despite the very fast meeting, we'll try to share our zero waste best practice. And considering that San Francisco is a big town, not so huge but big town, and Capannori is small, but not so small municipality, but both are very important. San Francisco is the light of zero waste in the world, and Capannori is the small light in Italy, but we are well connected with activists, and with a municipality will be also the mayor, Luca. And so, welcome in Capannori. Welcome in Capannori. I would like to.
Grazie.
Feel free to speak a little about what you prefer about San Francisco, about your story. Okay. What do you prefer?
Okay. So buonasera. Very nice to be here with you. I've been working in zero waste for over 30 years. The last 24 and a half with the city of San Francisco. Are you going to translate?
Okay. We have a meeting in English.
Oh, you can understand?
Yes.
Also,
I don't think everyone.
I can speak more slowly too. Yeah, San Francisco, we've, I think the reason that, California leads the United States and San Francisco leads California really mostly is because of public policy, laws, and we have a strong state law that helped get local governments to recycle, compost 50%, 50%. And then we about 15 years ago, we set a goal for zero waste, and we had an interim goal of 75% recovery. And the zero waste goal we knew was ambitious, aspirational, with a date that was arbitrary. We knew we would be striving for zero waste for a long time.
Sorry, Jack, if I interrupt you, maybe it's better sometimes if we translate a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perché non tutti ci ringrazia insomma, per essere qua. Dice che Jack lavora da almeno 15 anni come coordinatore Rifiuti Zero per la società di gestione dei rifiuti di San Francisco. San Francisco ha una grande importanza nello stato della California, dove ci sono delle leggi nazionali che hanno dato degli input forti alle località, quindi di almeno un 50% di raccolta, che poi è arrivato, se non ho capito bene, al 75%. Quindi diciamo la legge nazionale, al contrario magari di quella italiana, già da diversi anni lo Stato della California ha dato un forte input, e in questo contesto quindi si inserisce la città, appunto, la grande metropolitana città di San Francisco.
Okay, grazie. We've been doing source-separated recycling for a long time, many decades. And 20 years ago, we had a new program of combining everything for recycling and starting organic collection, composting. And we went from single-family to multi-family, ristorante to office building. And 10 years ago, we made it mandatory. What's the word for mandatory in Italian?
Obbligatorio.
What?
Mandato.
Obligatory for the last 10 years. And with our priority for obligatory was to make sure all properties, all residents, apartments, buildings, office buildings, everybody had the service, which is just for us is 3 streams: recycling, composting, and residual. And we were able to get that so everybody has it. 99+% of every property in San Francisco. San Francisco is a population of 900,000, but also lots of businesses, 90,000 businesses. So actually 3/4 of all the material is from the commercial sector. 5,000 restaurants, for example.
Allora, la struttura del sistema di gestione dei rifiuti su San Francisco è così composta. Rispetto al sistema italiano dove ci sono diversi bidoncini, loro hanno 3 bidoni più grandi dei nostri piccoli mastelli domiciliari, con un contenitore che comprende tutto il materiale riciclabile. Dopo entrerà nello specifico, però si tratta di carta, multimateriale, lattine, vetro, un altro contenitore per l'organico e un ulteriore contenitore per il non riciclabile. Ha presentato la città come un agglomerato di circa 900.000 abitanti, in cui 95.000 sono aziende, e quindi da ristoratori alle strutture e alle aziende. E ci dice che i 3/4 circa del rifiuto che viene prodotto provengono da questa parte, quindi sono rifiuti delle strutture commerciali e aziendali.
Yeah, you mentioned like 3/4 of it coming from commercial. Yeah.
Dal commerciale.
So during from 2000 to 2012, when we were rolling the program out everywhere, we reduced the amount going to landfill by more than half as we grew the composting and recycling programs. And, well, you wanted to say that?
Okay. E quindi tra il 2000 e il 2012 più del 50% del materiale andava in discarica.
Yeah. And then we also, and so we've done lots of policies, the obligatory for keeping a source separation. We also make it obligatory for construction and demolition material to recycle that. So we have a whole separate system for that with approved transporters and approved facilities to recycle construction and demolition debris. So we count that as part of our total material. And then we've also had policies around problematic material to go after plastic. So plastic bags, no single-use plastic bag, only recycled paper or reusable. Charges, if somebody takes a bag, they have to pay extra. It's only 10 cents, but they still have to pay. And banning certain plastics like polystyrene foam. Polystyrene foam, numero numero 6. The foam kind. Yeah, so we banned that first for food service, but then for now for packaging for all types of products.
For vehicle, the city is
Yeah.
foam plastic.
Yeah, so just for the expanded, the foam, yeah, no foam for vehicle. Because you can't recycle it or too expensive to recycle. But really now with the markets, it'd be better just to ban all of numero 6, say, because the markets are terrible for 6. You can really only recycle 1 and 2, 4, and 5. So, those have all been successful. In the 2000, we had, when we count everything, we had 80%, over 80% recovery or diversion. But we've had the challenge in the last few years that California had the biggest growing economy in the United States, and San Francisco the biggest in the United States, with lots of construction. So we're building high population, and the construction and demolition debris, even though it's obligatory to recycle, we have 360 different driving companies all around, and they sneak by and sometimes landfill because it's cheaper. So it's hard for us to enforce, to get compliance on that. So because of that, we had this booming economy, growing population, lots of construction. Our disposal stopped going down and started to go up. Even though we were recycling composting more and more, the disposal was also going up. And so because of that, we kept working to improve our programs and innovating. And in the last year and a half, we give everybody the Rifiuti residual. We've made half the size. So we went from 120 liter to 60 liter per single family household, per household, which is still more than enough. But we're trying to get everybody to give much less volume for the Rifiuti vessel, because that way less likely. And by just reducing by half, we automatically see a 10% decrease in how much was being put in.
Allora, Jack ha fatto prima una panoramica su alcune linee guida che riguardano le plastiche. Ad esempio il sacchetto di plastica non viene dato gratuitamente ma costa 10 centesimi, quindi diciamo stanno mettendo la testa come un po', cioè da noi c'è il compostabile, ma ha parlato di un'altra plastica che è stata bandita, l'ossanochete del polisterolo, quello,
sì.
ok, e ci diceva questo, che in San Francisco e nella California è un contesto di sfida, perché è lo Stato, la California e San Francisco, la città, che hanno avuto una più ampia crescita negli ultimi anni. C'è stato un boom economico sotto tanti punti di vista, soprattutto quello delle costruzioni. La popolazione è aumentata e con quello poi diciamo sia la cementificazione delle costruzioni, ma anche tutto quello che c'è dietro. E per questo quindi ci dice ci sono centinaia di aziende che devono diciamo costruire ma anche allo stesso tempo smaltire dei materiali, e siamo in un contesto dove a volte si cerca la soluzione più facile, che è quella della discarica. Quindi l'azienda si muove in diversi modi. Un esempio che hanno fatto è quello, c'è un'azione concreta che è stata portata avanti, è stata quella di dimezzare il contenitore del non riciclabile, perché le famiglie avevano 120 litri di contenitore non riciclabile, è stato portato a 60. Giustamente Jack dice, da subito c'è stato un incremento, una riduzione del 10% dei rifiuti prodotti, soltanto dimezzando il bidoncino dell'indifferenziato.
L'azienda è to share common experience. I would like to understand from you what about the materials recovered, and I ask you about China.
Yes,
when closed the market about recycling and so on. And what about revenues coming from source separation? And in the last, what about EPR in San Francisco, considering also plastic issue? Okay.
Well, I was, at least two of those were my two next things I wanted to talk about, so thank you for the question. So the China's national sword, you've heard of, you all know about that, right? That happened last year, They first made it the allowed amount of contamination, was reduced to just 0.5 0.5% allowed contamination in paper and plastic going to China. And China is the biggest market worldwide, and especially for the United States and the west coast of the United States. So that has had a huge impact in the United States on markets. And in San Francisco, we work with a private company, a public-private partnership exclusive company called Recology, and they collect the material and they separate and then they market the material. And they charge each resident or business to collect. So all the revenue, all the cambio is they collect to pay for everything. But they have a very good sorting facility, and before the China National Sword, they were improving it to reduce the contamination by adding optical sorters, infrared. So they do some manual on their screens, but then there's material going like this with light, like infrared reading the material, and if it's the right resin, then air blow and separate. And so they do optical sorting for different types of plastics. And now we've just added opticals for cleaning up the paper. So we've been able to reduce it 0.5%.
How much, sorry?
Well,
0.5%.
0.5% was the China standard.
Okay.
But what happened in China is they make this strict and then they just close the doors. So now China is just closed.
Okay.
And so then there are all these other markets in Asia, which include South Korea, Malaysia, Vietnam, India, Indonesia. These are all different countries now where we go send market, but they've made their standards much stricter. So
about what? About which kind of percentage?
Well, so I think we're getting around, if you can add enough equipment, you can get down to 0.5%, but it's very hard. Most people are between 1 and, most people are between 2 and 5, or 3 to 5%. And that's considered, for everything mixed together, that's considered a good percentage. Maybe we can get to around 1%. So that the other countries now they're not as strict at 1.5%, but it depends on how often they look. But we are able to produce as good a quality as virtually anybody else. The only way to get better than what we do is if you keep the paper completely separate all the way, which is what you do. If you don't mix the paper with plastic, metal, or glass, or anything else, then it's cleaner. So that's a big advantage of having paper and cartons completely separate. But in the United States, people mix it together because it's less sorting. It would be very hard for us with our density and just the public to go back and have more separate. It's easier to just kind of improve the technology.
Let me translate. Allora, come dicevamo prima, il loro sistema di gestione dei rifiuti è diverso dal nostro per motivi di densità abitativa, questi palazzi enormi a decine di piani che hanno un'oggettiva difficoltà, diciamo, di raccolta porta a porta e con contenitori, con una pluralità di contenitori. Ad oggi Jack ha fatto una panoramica sul mercato perché la Cina ha chiuso le porte, diciamo, a livello non solo quantitativo ma soprattutto qualitativo, perché fino appunto a pochi mesi fa gli Stati Uniti vedevano la Cina come il principale soggetto commerciale dove portare i rifiuti. nel corso dei mesi si sono alzati gli standard di qualità dei materiali, ovvero per poter esportare i rifiuti serviva una qualità molto alta, molto buona. La Cina è arrivata poi a chiudere completamente, diciamo, il mercato. Allora gli Stati Uniti guardano ad altri stati dove portare prodotti come la Malesia, la Corea del Sud, l'Indonesia e in questi luoghi, anche in questi luoghi comunque il tema della qualità merceologica è molto rilevante perché questi stati chiedono una qualità sempre migliore. È un po' il concetto che abbiamo anche noi nei nostri impianti, nelle nostre località, che se differenziamo bene riusciamo a vendere e a piazzare i prodotti, altrimenti poi dobbiamo pagare per smaltirli anche se sono differenziati, perché non sono... Però la cosa interessante è la loro gestione, che hanno questi mega impianti di riciclaggio dove metti il materiale del bidone differenziato e questo impianto differenzia in base a dei lettori ottici, degli strumenti tecnici, anche, insomma, vengono differenziati i materiali. E Jack diceva, ad oggi facciamo al meglio possibile, per poter fare ancora meglio potremmo dividere, cioè servirebbe una raccolta ad hoc per la carta, quindi una carta separata rispetto a tutti gli altri.
Like in Italy, because there is a difference from Italian source separation system
Right.
for
It's
small
more,
beans.
it's more specific, refined.
It's only one bean is only for paper.
Yeah, and that
Paper is clean.
yeah, that makes a big
San
difference.
Francisco is in the same bean of the plastic and the cans and
So outside of San Francisco, in the city of Berkeley, population 100,000, they collect the paper in cartons separate from the plastic, aluminum, and glass. There they have a much simpler separation system and they're able to meet the same quality. So, yeah, also important for quality is to get, even with combining it, it's important to keep the food separate from the paper because it's the food and the liquid that creates the biggest problem. So we are doing more education and outreach and monitoring. The drivers that drive the truck, they open the lid, if they see any food or contamination, they leave a tag. And then, if they get multiple tags, they get a letter and they can get extra charges. But the resident of business can get extra charges.
Jack, what about producer responsibility? Do you have some scheme, some program to involve commercial sector producer to avoid?
Yeah, well, we've done things like going after certain materials like the polystyrene foam, the number 6, or the bags. We just passed a law last year to ban the small plastic food serviceware like straws and stir sticks and plugs like that are too small to separate at the recycling, and have them switch to paper or wood and then go into composting. We are also looking at expanding on that to do more policy around getting restaurants to use reusable and not single use. For dine-in, make it required, and maybe charge for cups. That Berkeley just passed a law that will require reusables for all dining in, because some businesses do single use even for on-site. And then to charge for cups if you give a single-use cup, to encourage people to dine in or bring their own. But we also are looking at more producer responsibility, but it's hard to do that at just the locality government. So a new law has just been proposed for California for producer responsibility for packaging. And Washington State has also just introduced. So there has been building public support and political pressure for EPR. And I think we're now going to see a new wave, a new era of EPR at the state level, which is really what makes much more sense. You know, so that would be like at the province level.
A last question from me. How many employees involved in zero waste programs?
Yeah. Well, Recology has 1,000 employees, and at the sorting facility, 200 employees.
In total, or 2,000?
Well, about 1,000, which includes the drivers for all material, and for the recycling, sorting, maybe about 200, and then composting, maybe 50 or something like that. So, we know there's many more jobs for recycling and composting than disposal, landfilling or burning. And then outside of Recology, there's businesses that might do repair or reuse, and many more jobs there. We don't have a number on the jobs because there's many different organization businesses that
small business
that are involved with repair or reuse or some market development. We have a whole infrastructure around clothing. We call it Goodwill, for example. People donate the clothes and they resell, or they may do some, and then repair businesses.
What kind of task are you covering? What's your charge about the Zero Waste organization? Yeah. Jack Macy.
Yeah.
What he's doing?
Well, I basically focus most of my effort on helping to create new policies. So I wrote the Zero Waste policy, I wrote the mandatory obligatory policy, I wrote the plastic bag ban, the polystyrene foam ban, the food service ware. So I do a lot of work on the policies. I'm the main person on that. I also helped develop the program. So I helped develop the composting program and the recycling, and we went through doing different pilots and expanding that. I worked closely with Recology to push them to do the right thing. So every week I meet with the top management. We review, how things are going and how we can do better. And we also do a lot of outreach and education. So I helped with that concept and write some of that. I also oversee a team of people that go work in helping businesses to recycle better. So my official title says commercial.
Training.
Yeah.
People.
So I have direct employees that report to me that work with businesses, but I also have consultants that because we have so many businesses, it's like 60,000, and so every day people are out working with businesses to help them better separate the material, to help them better with purchasing, and to help them become zero waste businesses.
And I have also a question for you. Which is your relationship between you and the political local level, like the mayor of San Francisco,
Yeah.
for example? Before you said you are trying to write some new proposal for zero waste or to ban the plastic bags and other stuff.
So we've done all that.
When you do that,
Yeah.
how is your collaboration with the political?
Yeah, so I work as part of the city. We call it it's a city and county together. So I work in the government, and I'm in a department of the environment, and then I have a boss, and then the director of the entire department, which is over 100 people, more than zero waste. It's zero waste, it's toxics, it's it's green, other green business, purchasing, energy, transportation, and outreach teams. And then the director reports to the mayor of San Francisco. So politically, it depends on who's the mayor and how bold they want to be and going and aggressive. The best mayor that I've worked for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mayors now. The best mayor was Mayor Gavin Newsom. And he just got elected last year to be the governor of California.
Oh.
And because he's now governor of California, and we also have many progressive people in the legislature, we are now in a better position than ever as a state of California. That's why we have a new proposal that was just announced like yesterday to have this comprehensive EPR packaging legislation in California. They're calling it the California Circular Economy and Plastics Packaging Reduction Act, something like that. So I'm very excited because the Gavin Newsom bold, he gets zero waste. And when he was running for governor, he talked about making composting mandatory and banning plastic bags. And those were things that I did with him. Yeah.
Is it from a Green Party or Democratic Party?
It's Democratic, yeah. Green Party is just too small.
No.
But he's a progressive Democrat. He was, governor of San Francisco, and then was elected lieutenant governor, and now full governor.
Thank you. Allora, Rossano ha chiesto, per quanto riguarda la responsabilità del produttore, come funziona appunto in California più che altro e in San Francisco. E Jack ha detto che ad oggi il tema è più nazionale e stanno cercando per quanto possono di far presente la problematica, però la California si sta muovendo tramite il nuovo governo. Ad esempio lo Stato di Washington ha già fatto una legge sulla responsabilità estesa del produttore e questo strumento consente di fare una pressione alle aziende da parte di un ente pubblico. Quindi un conto è quando i piccoli comuni fanno, come magari possiamo fare noi in Italia, pressione delle lettere eccetera, un conto è quando uno Stato come quello della California o di Washington fanno pressione e hanno uno strumento come appunto una legge sulla responsabilità. Quindi dice che lo scenario è in trasformazione, però si sta evolvendo bene perché i temi su cui noi vogliamo lottare sono quelli che vengono portati avanti. Poi Rossana ha chiesto quanti sono più o meno il personale dell'azienda. Non ho capito esattamente il numero, però più di 1000 dipendenti. Ecology, yeah, around 1000, but not poi ci diceva che c'era anche un giro connesso a questi 1000 dipendenti, poi altre aziende, è una cosa più ampia. E poi Rossana ha chiesto riguardo al ruolo di Jack nella società Ecology e io ho integrato chiedendo anche il suo rapporto con la parte amministrativa, perché ero curioso di capire la relazione tra lo Stato e l'azienda. E Ecology ha un ruolo, Jack, di coordinamento all'interno dell'azienda dove e scrive delle proposte elaborate poi analizzando le necessità quotidiane, quindi se vede che c'è una problematica sull'indifferenziato viene studiata una strategia per ridurlo, come può essere il ridimensionamento dei bidoncini, oppure sul tema delle borse i sacchetti di plastica ha scritto lui questa specie di ban, no? ai sacchetti di plastica. E nei confronti dello Stato c'è un dirigente, che sopra ancora Jack, che alla fine si relaziona con la parte politica, quindi è come se fosse magari il direttore aziendale che va dalla parte politica a dire: guarda, abbiamo recepito queste indicazioni, voi la parte politica dirà cosa fare e loro quello che propongono come strumenti tecnici, però a quanto ho capito non recepiscono e basta delle indicazioni di indirizzo politico, ma fanno delle proposte, quindi è la cosa importante che sono un po' è il motore innovativo, no? Jack ha una funzione di motore rispetto a dei temi di visione, come possono essere quelli riguardanti la politica rifiuti zero, e quindi a volte sollecita l'amministrazione dicendo guarda facciamo questa cosa, e l'ultimo governatore gli piace perché diciamo
voi ha collaborato con vari sindaci,
sì, ecco,
uno di questi sindaci Gavin
Gavin Newsom.
Now is the governor of California.
E ecco, ha collaborato con diversi sindaci e con questo in particolare si sente bene, un clima positivo perché you feel that in a positive
Yeah, I think that we have more of an opportunity than before to have more far-reaching legislation in California, and we also work. I do spend also have spent a lot of time in helping to pass legislation at the state level. So we now are looking at that because we are just legally more limited about what we can do as a city around, especially around DPR, than what we can do at a bigger level state. There's no, the federal government is terrible under Trump. We can't get anything there. But at the state, we have a good opportunity. And California being the biggest state in the U.S., what California does then, helps ripple out to other states.
And sometimes I feel when I watch television and also social that California is like the point of innovation of all United States, also in this political and historical moment.
Especially in
environmental
policy and a lot of that.
Diceva che a livello federale il clima di oggi è opposto a livello ambientale, sono venuti meno alcuni accordi sul clima, non c'è proprio espresso l'interesse di fare una politica ambientale seria, e però la California si sta strutturando veramente come perno, come motore di tutti gli Stati Uniti su questo tema. Infatti se guardiamo spesso anche sui telegiornali social ne parlano come catalizzatore di questa forza verde, di questa...
Well, I just want to say a couple of things. So there's sort of there are three areas that we are working now on. The three challenging areas around zero waste. One is the UNO is around single-use packaging and plastic packaging, changing patterns of consumption where people are ordering online, everything coming to them, so more and more packaging. And some of the technology improvements, changes at the recycling facility was to deal with more packaging and more smaller packaging. So that's one area. We've been doing policy work on that I mentioned. Another area is around helping to improve participation in separation, especially in large multi-tenant, either residential or commercial properties. And we just passed a law there that says that they can't separate it adequately, then they might have to hire people to help them sort.
Wait, I don't understand. Can you read the second challenge?
The second challenge is dealing with the largest properties that are complex, like a multi-tenant, and if they can't separate adequately, requiring them, you might require them to hire what we call zero waste facilitators, people who can improve their program and maybe even help sort before pickup. And then the third area is around construction demolition debris. We're looking to improve that whole system and better enforce on that. So those are the kind of the three key areas that we're working on. And then you can mention that, and then I want to just mention another thing.
Okay. Allora,
sorry, Matteo. Because the time is running, after translation from Matteo, we move in our office,
Okay.
showing you.
Good, and I want to get more of an update too.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just will say, policy-wise, we're excited about what the EU is doing around plastics and looking at that. as well,
Okay,
too.
we'll explain very shortly.
Yeah.
Ok, allora, tre sfide ad oggi che Jack vuole portare avanti insieme all'azienda Ripoggio. Cercare di cambiare lo stile di vita dei cittadini tramite quelle che sono le attività maggiori di oggi. Si acquista tantissimo online, sulle grandi piattaforme come Amazon o come altre piattaforme. C'è il problema degli imballaggi, quindi immaginiamo le centinaia di migliaia di acquisti che ci sono nello Stato e nella città, quindi meno imballaggi, collaborare con le aziende per avere meno imballaggi e meno rifiuti. La seconda sfida è quella di lavorare sulle grandi compagnie attraverso dei facilitatori a rifiuti zero, cioè anche delle persone che possono aiutare sia come formatori ma anche come separatori, se ho ben capito. Il terzo ambito, perché questi qui sono tre ambiti dove c'è una grandissima produzione e quindi dice le tre sfide sono attaccare queste sfere dove si produce tantissimo. La terza sfida è quella delle costruzioni, delle demolizioni, perché come si diceva prima, essendo in una città in grande sviluppo, c'è bisogno di una politica che attacchi le aziende che costruiscono e demoliscono. E quindi non è entrato nello specifico con le azioni concrete, però ha individuato questi tre temi su cui lavorare.
So I want to just finish. I just want to finish saying, talk about our climate work, and we have a climate action strategy and zero waste. Rifiuti Zero is a key part of our climate action strategy because it's about zero waste, sustainable transportation, renewable energy, and then the fourth, quattro, is, we call it roots. And it's about making sure we have lots of trees and we use compost in the soil to improve the soil and to make it so plants can pull more carbon out of the atmosphere and put it into the soil. And there's been some very exciting research and demonstration of this just outside of San Francisco in Marin County, using compost, where they've done lots of scientific data collection, where they measure this carbon in the soil, and then they put compost here, and then they measure here, and they find that using compost one time like, for example, rangeland, grazing, one time, then every year there's more carbon coming into the soil, a ton per hectare additional every year. And based on this research now, we are working with people to create it's called a New Green Deal, which is a very popular term now in the United States about having a New Green Deal. We're working on for California for agriculture, to change agriculture, to make it sustainable through the use of compost and as what's called carbon farming, to help pull carbon into the soil. Key critical strategy for climate, because we need to pull carbon out of the atmosphere, and zero waste and compost is an important part of
It's
that.
a key part.
Yeah, so I think when people understand this, then everybody says we have to compost.
Translate and then the last question.
Importante il lavoro sul clima, cioè Rifiuti Zero non è soltanto una politica di gestione dei rifiuti, ma loro si stanno concentrando anche sull'aspetto della qualità dell'aria e della terra, di ciò che è ambiente a 360 gradi. Come lo fanno? Attraverso progetti di piantumazione e di alberi e il lavoro sul compost. Hanno fatto degli studi, è evidente come vi sia una risposta maggiore con in dei luoghi dove è stato utilizzato il compost rispetto a quelli dove non è stato utilizzato, a livello proprio di ricchezza dei materiali. Quella è una cosa che anche noi lo conosciamo bene per le nostre tradizioni diciamo, degli orti nelle case, nelle ville, insomma nei nostri territori. I told them that we know a lot very well that compost is amazing value for our territory, because we have some lot of cultivation, as you know, olive plant and other stuff, and we know really well that the importance of compost.
I would have a different question, but very quickly, about anaerobic digestion, about the producing new compost, a new way to use compost and energy, relationship with the university, about the use of bioplastic from different vegetables and residual of different vegetables, and your fight against microplastic in cosmetics. Because microplastic is very dangerous for the plankton of the fish. But the main question is, I saw a film where actor says, capitalists need waste. Capitalists need waste. Or now, a philosophy. Now we are going forward a more sharing economy. So this new deal of economy needs more waste as the old capitalism, or you think about it that we could reduce this use to make more waste, food waste, for instance, or waste in general, going through this shared economy?
Yeah, well, I think you had lots of great questions there. I wish I could.
You need
3 hours.
Yeah, but rapido, anaerobic digestion is good, especially for the food. What's the term? Food. Food, because it's when you compost, you give off a lot of the carbon. So anaerobic digestion, you capture all the carbon, you use that as biogas, and then you make the compost. So we only don't do that because of the cost, but anaerobic digestion is good.
You use anaerobic digestion.
And then you do aerobic after for the thing.
Yes.
Now I'm forgetting what the other was, but the sharing economy.
Relationship with university.
The microplastics. The microplastics cosmetic. We got that banned in California,
okay.
And there's a lot of concern around the plastics. I've decided I cannot buy synthetic clothing anymore, because I used to think we used to wear fleece, polyester fleece. Oh, so nice, and everybody, outdoor people go into nature and backpack with their fleece, and that's just shedding stuff. So, I decided I have to go natural. This is all natural. I even got leather. I've never bought leather before, but it's natural, right? So, the relationship with the sharing economy, I think the sharing economy provides a very good opportunity to reduce waste. Because one way of thinking about reduction, one thing I didn't say is that we, as part of a global climate action summit that we hosted globally last September, we've got many cities now with new goals to reduce disposal by half in 10 years, but also to reduce total generation of all material, reduce that, because that's important too. It's the reuse, really important. So sharing economy has an opportunity to reduce reuse, because it's about changing the way we make products and buildings, and then more importantly, how we consume products and services. So the sharing economy can it helps change the way we can consume by maybe, instead of buying something, a product, we buy the service. And so we use the product, but then we see, and so we see a lot of innovation in this area. For example, with cars now, lots of car sharing. So I know a lot of young people don't buy cars. They need a car, they go onto their phone, they look, there's a car over here, and I just go and I use it, take it, and then I leave it, and then it's just like bicycle sharing, you have car sharing, and then we also can share other materials, so we don't have to buy. But it's not always going to work well, because the whole the Uber and Lyft, it's not so much a car sharing, it's a car service, and everybody then drives their car into San Francisco to drive around to take people to make money, and suddenly we have more cars driving in San Francisco because, so it can be, and the problem is that the whole business model is just about making money. So companies just want to make money. They're not, some companies value the environment, but not all. So there's opportunity there, but we have to be careful, and we need to have public policy that says you need to reduce and help push that publicly.
Must drive, the public administration must drive
Yeah.
the economy
An
toward.
important role for
use.
government to help set the rules and principles, yeah. Okay.
We move in our
Can I
office.
make the last
So,
question?
the last, sorry,
Last one.
because I'll try to share.
Yes.
Okay, I notice you are very advanced in the field of collecting waste and all the rest. But I think probably Capannori can teach you something, you Americans. I think that you waste as something which is a little behind Italy. The collection of waste, separation of waste. I think that your separation is, I don't know if it is behind because you want to give a job to people who select different items, or if you think that that is the best way because Americans are a little, not sloppy, but they don't care, they don't want to bother to select paper, plastic, and all the rest. So I don't understand this. Why you don't separate plastic in the beginning, paper in the beginning, and all the rest?
Well, that's a very good question, and I think you could say that you're more advanced because you do more separation.
Yes.
Some people might say, no, we're more advanced because we make it simpler and more convenient. And
You get jobs.
our studies show that when we went from having 2 streams for recycling, paper and cartons and plastic, metal, and glass separately, when we combined it, we got more material because it was more convenient, and the technology for separating improves. But I would bet that Capannori has a lower disposal, lower Rifiuti per capita than San Francisco. Because if you look at Europe, that's in Asia, many parts of the world, you're lower per capita. I mean, basically, if you look at consumption, energy use, resource use, United States is more than anybody.
Yes.
We're like double the European average.
Yes.
So, and I think it's a cultural thing. There was a perception among many people, if you go back 20 years ago, that you couldn't even get that many people to recycle. And then 10 years ago, that you can't get that many people to compost. We're showing that's not true, but for us to then go to everybody and say, well, you have 3 streams, which already is maybe challenging to fit inside, we now want you to go 4, 5, 6. They'd say, you're crazy, we'll never do that.
Yeah.
So I just think politically, culturally, we can't make that change. So what we need to do is have people do that separation as well as they can and use the best technology, but also really try to find ways through education and through policy incentives, cultural change, to get people to consume less, to get people to move from thinking it's not just okay to recycle and compost. We say now we can't recycle our way out of the plastic crisis. We have to reduce, we have to reuse our way. We want people to going from single-use disposables to reuse. So we really want people to change their mindset and their consumption behavior into a reusable. We want a reuse, refillable economy. Reuse, refill it. And so that's the kind of change that we're focused on versus having people do more separations.
Dobbiamo cambiare la maniera di fare le cose.